A Nefarious Nightmare contains themes that may be explicit or triggering for some. Specific warnings and disclaimers will be mentioned in the show notes. A Nefarious Nightmare assumes all parties that are mentioned in these cases to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Welcome to Season 4.
Hi everyone, Amanda here. I just want to let you all know that we will be taking a week off so that Courtney can arrange things for her mom's memorial. So in the meantime, please check out the following feed drop by our friends over at the Sirens podcast. The following feed drop episode is titled Victimology with Professor McNeely. We chose this episode because we feel like it will give you a better understanding on what we, as a Nefarious Nightmare, are seeking justice for. And we want you to all have a better understanding of victimology. As you all are aware, victims and survivors are bees. In this episode, Raven and Holly get into the nitty-gritty with Mandy McNeely, the resident victimology professor, about what victimology is. They all have some great safety tips as well. You can find more information at www.thesirenspodcast.com. You can also find the Sirens podcast anywhere you get great podcasts. Please head over to their platforms and leave them a 5-star rating and review. Raven, thank you so much for your episode submission and your idea to create a feed drop file in our time of need. You are amazing. Now, everyone, please enjoy the following episode. And remember, be vigilant. For when you mess with the bees, you get the hive.
You're listening to Sirens, a true crime podcast, brought to you by the Sirens Network. This podcast contains explicit content, so listener discretion is advised. The opinions expressed on this podcast are solely the views of the hosts and do not reflect the views of affiliates, associates, or sponsors of this podcast. This is Sirens, a true crime podcast.
Okay, so in layman's terms, what is victimology?
Victimology. So when I explain it, I a lot of times refer it to criminology, because when we think about a murder or a crime, we think about a lot of times the perpetrator, their offender, and what we focus on them and their life and what's going on. You know, how did they become this person, or what happened in their life? And victimology is where we focus on the victim instead.
Okay.
We look to the victim to see, and I'm thinking because victimology is more about, we look at statistics, we look at, socioeconomic, we look at, what has happened in their life, what led up to where they were, and it's never a victim's fault, but there are things that we can, study and look at in victimology that will really help us to put things in place that can help other people maybe not be a victim.
So, in short, you look at not why the perpetrator does what he does, but what put the victims in their path to begin with.
Yes, and sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah.
But it does help to look at certain things into the victim. Plus, we have to remember it's not just the victim themselves, it's their siblings, their family, their friends. Everyone that is associated with them is a victim. We've had siblings that worry about the perpetrator coming back to get them. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of dynamics there, and there needs to be supports in place with advocates and counselors and things that need to be done to really support them so they can become a proper member of society, and and later on, if they have some PTSD or some things going on, and this really helps them to be able to live their life.
So what do you take into consideration when determining victimology?
Sorry, thinking about that.
Stumped ya.
Yeah. So when you think about victimology and things you look at, you want to look at the area. That's usually the area the victim lives in, the area the victim was at. Were they alone at night? Were they, driving in their car somewhere on a dirt road, in the middle of the night? Are they in, and it can happen in any area. And this is, I think, a misconception that people think it only happens in lower socioeconomic areas and that's where the crime happens. And that's just not true. Yeah. It can happen in any socioeconomic area. I can't talk. I'm sorry. And it can, so that's one thing you definitely want to look at is where did that happen? Was it nighttime? Was there a lot of people out? Were they looking around their surroundings? Because that is a big thing. You always have to look vigilant. Around. Yes. Yeah. It does make a difference. The more aware you are and the more people know that you are paying attention, the less likely they are to, approach you. Yeah. Not always, but most of the time. And we look at things in their past, like do they know this person? Is there a tie to this person? Right. Is this someone that knew their family? Is this someone they dated? So these are all things you look at so you can then, statistics. I know that sounds really, but statistics are a big part of criminology and victimology.
So we are here today to talk about the Ether Man. And I was just wondering, because this person went into women's homes, just went up in there. Yes. And so what makes that, is that a rare thing that you see in victimology? Is like, what makes him different than how do they choose? Like, it seems so bold.
He was pretty bold. A lot of times they will go into people's houses, and it reminds me of in Wichita, BTK killer. Yeah. Because he went into people's homes. He was very brazen and did not mind, who he confronted.
That's just so crazy to me.
It's a control. It's a power. Control issue.
Because when we're talking about victimology, you're literally talking about, like, well, where were you? Were you alone at night? Were you and these women are in their homes. Mm-hmm. What do you do to avoid that?
Well, number one, keep your doors and windows locked.
Right.
Because,
lock your freaking door.
Yeah, because a lot of times they get in through your open windows. Oh, yeah. I'm a big advocate of alarms. Cameras are great. Cameras don't stop them, I've noticed, but they are good so you have a picture of who it is later. Right. But an alarm is one of your alarm that is monitored and will go off and call the police is is a huge advocate on your side. Yeah. Watch your surroundings when you're out, because he watched all of these women.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, he would have to obviously have seen these girls out and about beforehand. But another thing I was thinking about, so I know that there are male victims, but are females predominantly the ones we see as victims?
Females are predominantly the ones we see because a lot of times, especially with rapists or serial killers, it's about power and control, and they feel that a female is a lot easier to take power over and control over, and with a male, it's kind of almost a crapshoot. Yeah. They don't really know for sure if they're going to be able to do that. Right. So they know with women, they can overpower them, and you say with sexual violence, that is definitely a power control, but sometimes it doesn't even have to be about sexual. A lot of times it's just the power over that person. Right. That is their sexual, that's
their gratification.
That is. Yeah. They don't even have to, sexually violate them a lot of times. So, but watch their surroundings when you're out, because they're usually watching you, so check they know your comings and goings. I mean, it's happened. People have been at gas stations and they've left their door unlocked and someone's crawled in their back, their floorboard.
So we hear a lot of times people say the victim was living a high-risk lifestyle. So what's the difference in a high-risk lifestyle and a low-risk lifestyle?
A high-risk lifestyle is a lot of times someone that is a drifter that is not in any one area at any particular time, so they don't really know the area they're drifting into. They don't know, the parts of town to be in. They don't know. They engage with a lot of strangers, things like that. Going out by yourself at night, into areas that are predominantly can be a danger, and just going out and just meeting people, not taking precaution if you meet someone on the internet. That can be a little bit higher risk. And
can I throw routine? Let me throw routine into the mix. Like, I am one of those people that goes running and at a park around my neighborhood, and like being seen at the same time every day. Like, someone can see you run by their house at the same time every day, and then, watch your house and see that you come home to an empty home. No one's there. Like, your husband's gone during the day and doesn't get home till 5 o'clock kind of thing, That
would be a little bit higher risk. Yeah. I'm just going to say, you wouldn't think so, but, and this is the thing. I talk about lower risk being, just
being home all the time like me.
Just keeping
but
yourself
also
in the house.
that's one of those things, just like having those stickers on your car. Like, okay, we see that you have 2 children.
Exactly.
We see that one's in basketball. They're gone all the time. Your little girl's in dance, so you're taking these kids places all the time. When you get home, your hands might be full and loading a bunch of crap. You're distracted.
Exactly.
That sort of thing. Like,
100%.
It's the same. Yeah, like don't do the same thing all the freaking time.
And there are also, I'm guessing, high risk occupations, like bartenders and servers, and it drives me crazy when I see my friends on Facebook that are bartenders or servers, and they're literally telling people, "Come see me, I'm here till 2 a.m."
Yes.
I'm like, oh, stop telling people that. I know that, like, that's how you make your money, is getting people into the bar, but at least leave your off time out of it, like.
Well, that drives me crazy when people are on vacation posting photos like that day, like in real time. I'm like, do not fucking do that.
Yes.
Your house is there. Like, I don't know, unless you want to say something like, I have a house sitter, everything's fine. Like,
they will eat you alive.
That's not a good idea. I used to get onto my mom so hard about that. I'm like, lady, you weren't, just come back in a week and upload all this. Mother of God.
So, obviously we're not victim blaming here, if you are a bartender and
Sure.
But how much more likely are you to become a victim if you live a high risk lifestyle versus a low risk lifestyle?
I would say it's about 80%.
Holy cow.
It's very high, and because if you, and this is the biggest thing that I tell my students is, don't tell people where you are. Don't advertise your life on social media. Have things in place that like, I'm not going to go to Walmart by myself at 3 o'clock in the morning and park at the very end of the parking lot and walk without my phone. And, it's certain things and that really, if we just think about them, they will lower our risk. And, don't be on a sorority at a college in the middle of the night, by a sorority house, walking on campus with no one around, or even on the campus period. Just don't do it, without people, and watch your surroundings. Get your, don't
be
leave
more
your door
mindful.
unlocked.
Yeah.
And those really significantly lower our risk of, being a victim. And I've had it happen to me. I've made the decision not to, and I put myself at about an 80. Yeah. Actually, I put myself at 100% risk.
Yeah.
But I could have, just by making 2 different decisions, I could have lowered my risk about 80%. Yeah. Honestly.
So, are there differences that you see between victims of, like let's say, domestic abuse and sexual abuse and victims of, say, like attempted murder or like serial killers, serial rapists, stuff like that?
That's a good question. There's a big difference. Domestic violence is, it's usually between a partners or family members and, friends. And there's a bond there. There's a relationship there. It is not there. It's usually in the moment, in the heat of the moment, they just go into a rage. There can be first degree there, but a lot of times it's just at that one particular person. They're not a danger to the whole of society at that moment. With a serial killer or someone that picks their victims randomly, they will look for anyone that fits kind of their thought in their mind of who they need to victimize. Right. So it is a lot higher danger to the society as a whole, because you don't know. A lot of times most of the time they're very charismatic. They can mold in with the crowd, and you really don't know. Whereas a domestic is an isolated incident normally, and it's just at specific people within their family or friends. And so it is a different dynamic. But a friend of mine who's a police officer, he's told me that the most police officers get killed in domestic violence. They always have to have a backup when they go to a scene. I mean,
well, now that you mention it, that checks out. Because, that's probably that blind rage that you're talking about.
And the serial killer, they're a lot more...
I've been expecting you.
Yeah, they're
for 30 years.
Yeah. They're a lot more calculated, know exactly what they're doing. They get in and get out because they don't want to be caught. When you're in a domestic situation, they're just mad.
Yeah, and they're not really thinking about getting caught or anything like that at the time. They're just in the moment. That's so crazy. So, okay, what does a victimologist do with all of this information?
Well, what we do is we take all this information and we look at crimes. I look at a variety of crimes. I go through anything to a narcissist that is victimizing a spouse or a family member, to a serial killer, rapist. I look at all over the world. I've looked at Canada cases. I've looked, United States cases. And you take these different things that you find out and you really try to draw in, and I say a pattern, but you really do want to look at what areas you're seeing this pattern happen, and what ages, and what is it that the victim, like we said, are they out late at night, they're working at a bar, and they go out to a parking lot by themselves at night, really late, and what is that we're seeing, so we can help the police force, and we can help the, advocates really know what to look for and really know how to help victims, and what services to put in place more. Right. Like, in what areas do we need more police presence? What areas do we, where could we look with serial killers in certain areas that could be connected? And that's really, a victim's life can tell you a lot of times about kind of who is preying on them.
Yeah. Do you ever see, this is a legitimate question.
No, anything.
Do you ever see if, like, culture or religion or anything like that, does that ever play a part in victimology, or is it just like where they are, where they go, what they do?
No, there is a religion. Any part of their life can play a role. You look at some of the shootings that have happened, the nightclub shooting, and, there are religious reasons that people will go into a venue and start shooting. So all of those play a role. Every facet of someone's life, really, who would be preying on them, again, because if they're, if their religion, they're in a certain religion, and there you have someone that does not like that, religion, which we've seen it in shootings before, or the LGBT, community where someone's gone into a club. Those make a difference. And it makes a difference in the fact that we we can, as a victimologist, can look at those and say, okay, you know what? We really need more supports in this area. There's not enough advocates in this area. There's not enough counselors that really have the training to know how to help in this area with this, because everyone that you meet, religious or, whether it's socioeconomic again, or their culture that they live in, their areas they live in, within a city even, their town, those kind of things can make a difference on how people react to things.
Right.
And so I think it's a good idea to find and train counselors and advocates to really know how to look at those areas and those religious beliefs and be comfortable with them. Victimology can help people in so many ways, and just really be aware. Awareness is, I think, the biggest thing of victimology. Awareness.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
If I would have had it when I was at the age that we're going to talk about as far as, our subject of the podcast, I would have done some things differently that night.
What can we do to prevent ourselves from being this type of victim, I guess, is the big question.
There are a lot of things we can do. Like I said before, it can happen anywhere. So don't think just because, I've talked about area that, because it's happened. I've seen cases where someone walked in Overland Park, Kansas, which is, I lived there during high school, and the crime rate was 2% at that time. And a girl that did just what I did, exact went into a store just like I did after work. I actually worked across the street from where this happened. And a couple years later, she did the exact same thing. Someone followed her in, followed her out. She parked in the parking lot, kind of towards the, back, and just didn't even look around.
Low light.
And he kidnapped her and raped her and killed her and took her across state lines. So, so it can happen anywhere. And that was in 2%, crime areas. So please, no matter where you are, and that's why I try to really hit on this, no matter where you are, it doesn't matter if you're in Calabasas, California, or you're, just please watch out for your surroundings and don't park. If you see a van or a big truck precluding your car when you go out after you go into a shopping, please do not go to your car. Mm-hmm. If someone follows you in a store, do not leave the store. That is one of the biggest things, and I've seen that a lot recently. Mm-hmm. In fact, with someone I know, left the store. Do not leave the store. Mm. Go and get security. Have them call the police. Do not leave the store. If you ever feel like you're in danger, have someone escort you out. Don't ever walk out by yourself. At nighttime, do not park at the end of a parking lot because you want to save your car. I know I'm a door ding person. I do not like them, but I'm telling you, if it's up to that and saving your life, save your life. Yeah. Do not do that because you don't want a door ding, because you do not know who's watching you.
Yeah.
You cannot be aware of everyone in that parking lot. I promise you, there's one of you and there's how many cars in a parking lot, those eyes can be on you before you even are able to scan the parking lot.
Yeah.
When you're going somewhere, take your phone with you. Try to always remember your phone. Social media is a double-edged sword. It really is. And most people think it's completely bad, but I tell my students, no, it actually can be be in your favor. It really can. A lot of times, social media is what helps catch, predators and offenders. And so we can use it to our advantage. It is a double-edged sword because it can do a lot of harm, but we can use that to protect ourselves with our cell phones and different forms of media where we can get a hold of people. Make sure that you if you don't have, you're younger, and take pepper spray. Take pepper spray with you.
I got pepper spray.
Yeah, get pepper spray. I give it to, my daughter has it, and take it with you. Always carry it, and use it, because, don't be afraid. Don't just have it and just throw it, and check the dates and get new ones because they do expire.
I probably should do that.
Yeah, they
It's
do
been a couple
expire,
years.
and they won't be as powerful anymore.
Yeah.
But please use that. There's also, which, you had talked about before, the Noonlight app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell a little bit about that.
So the Noonlight app, it's literally just an app you can install on your phone. You open it up, you hit the button, and it just opens straight up to this it's an alarm. It's just a big circle on your screen. It says hold the button until you feel safe. You literally put your finger or your thumb, whatever it is, on that button and hold it there until you feel like you're in a safe area, and then you can let go. When you let go, it gives you 30 seconds, I think, to enter a PIN code and to deactivate it. If you let go, it's going to assume that you've been kidnapped because it will immediately ping your, I believe they have their own operators that will call 911 in your area and inform them that this, your thing has gone off and they need to do a welfare check or whatever. They'll tell them where your GPS is located. And that one's super simple to use. There's another one that I just started using with the girl who's staying with me. It's called Sister. It's just simply Sister. And this one is like a friend-to-friend companion kind of thing. You add your friends on this Sister app by their phone number, and then if they say get off work, because she gets off work very late at night, and she can open this Sister app and hit the button. It's just a little red button at the bottom, and it'll ping the people that you have friended on there, and it'll say, hey, she is walking right now and she feels unsafe, and it will bring up her location. And you don't have to touch it again. You just hit the button, and whoever you have in there, it'll ping and it'll say they feel unsafe. And you on the other end, open up your app, and it'll show you on a map, GPS locate her, and show you exactly where she is. So that if she doesn't turn it off within a certain amount of time, if she's not moving for a certain amount of time, it will send you an alert, and you can either call 911 for her, or it will do that as well after an amount of time. So those two are really great apps to use.
Oh, that's wonderful. Those kind of things, they really do help, and they really use the buddy system. Please, always remember, especially if you're in college or, use the buddy system. Don't leave a party by yourself walking at night. Don't let anyone walk you that you don't know.
Yes.
Please don't do that.
Exactly.
Ever.
Yes.
Because that can be very dangerous. And your defenses can be down at night when you are walking in the dark. I know people think they know where they're going, but a lot of times, you're so busy trying to figure out where you're going at night that you're not really paying attention to your surroundings.
Get easily disoriented at night. And to what you said, when you get off work, if you work alone at night, or you're a bartender, or even if you're a paramedic, have somebody walk you to your car.
Yes.
Because you never know who's going to be there waiting for you.
Yes.
You just don't.
And don't ever think it won't happen to you, because hopefully it will never happen to you, but it can.
But you also never know.
You don't.
You never know if you're just in the right spot at the right time. Mm-hmm. But also you never know if something that you've done vigilantly has saved your life.
Yes.
You don't know that. You're still here. So,
yes.
I mean, you never know. So
you don't. And I never thought I would be approached.
Yeah.
Never thought that would ever happen to me. And, in still some ways, now I'm a lot older, but I still think about that and think, goodness, I never thought that would happen to me. And I never told my parents about that till I was an adult either.
Yeah.
Just because I was almost embarrassed of it, I think.
Yeah. Like, how could I be so dumb?
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, you're young, and I mean, this is what we're here for. To tell you youngins out there, or even, older people who just aren't aware of these things, how these things work, and try to keep you safe and vigilant.
Yes, and don't be embarrassed. Don't take what I did and be embarrassed, because you saying something could actually help save someone else's life.
For sure.
So, like I said, use social media to your advantage and tell someone.
Everybody walking around with their heads down in their phones or both
Yes.
AirPods in over and over and over. I cannot tell you enough. Those things work without both of them in your head. You do not need to walk around without being able to hear, see, that phone's it'll wait. Like, everything you're doing can wait. Just pay attention to your surroundings. But another thing is people in bars, this whole hookup culture that we've got going on. But the people who are like Raven, our mom's age, scares the bejesus out of me. Because, like, what if they're, like, widowed? What if they're getting divorced and they're going back out into a completely different world than it is when they got married, or than it was when they got married? Like, we know the dangers because we've been living in a pretty dangerous world. They did too, but on a totally different level. Now there's internet predators. Now there's guys on the internet who you might think he looks like something. You might think he works at this place. You might think he's a great stand-up guy, and you're going out to meet him,
but you don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't care if you need to stage this in some way. Take your friend with you. Take a guy friend with you. Take a girlfriend with you. And they don't have to sit beside you. Like, sit them at a table somewhere else. Yeah. Have them sitting there being a freaking spy. Because I'll go. I promise you I'll go. Yeah. I'll sit in the freaking, like, over in the corner, like the scariest little friend you've ever had in your life. Like, who is he? I'm going to accidentally get his blood type. I'm going to swipe his DNA off that beer bottle when we're done. Like,
check them out. Check them out. Get on the court records.
Yeah.
Check them out. Yeah. Use social media to your advantage, because we have those things now.
Exactly. Like that.
There's actually been someone recently who was meeting people on dating websites, and come to find out he is a serial rapist. And has a ton of charges on him right now.
Oh my goodness.
In Missouri.
It's a double-edged sword, because you're like, you can just go out and meet people the old-fashioned way, where we got abducted from bars.
Yes.
Where we left our drinks unattended and got roofied.
Exactly.
I know.
Hey.
Exactly. Yeah,
So, I mean, just whatever you do, just be really vigilant about it.
Get to know them.
You do. Yeah.
Very well.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to this important episode. Catch more from Raven next time on the Sirens Podcast.
Do we have an outro? That's our outro, isn't it?
Thank you for listening to A Nefarious Nightmare. Music used in the theme was originally recorded by Ghost Stories Incorporated, remixed by Ryan RCX Murphy. Additional background music is provided by Epidemic Sound. A Nefarious Nightmare is scripted, researched, and produced by Courtney Finner and Amanda Cronin. This podcast is a Cloud 10 podcast managed by Sim Sarna, Sahiba Krieger, and Jamie Rice of Murderish and Dirty Money Moves. You can help us grow our show by leaving us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Or you can join our Patreon for lighthearted bonus content. Thank you, and as always, be vigilant.